Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Happy Juneteenth. We are celebrating this holiday of liberation with a live audience in the WHRO parking lot. Folks are enjoying delicious food from our food trucks. Lisa Godley is live outside with historian Dr. Derrick Lanois and Rel Dowell and Fatima Cortez Todd with the Virginia Black Film Festival. I'm here in studio with storyteller Amy Johnson, and the next hour will be full of fun, facts, and family as we come together to commemorate the ending of a really tough time in America when the final enslaved people in Texas learned of their freedom. While the show is an hour, we'll be hanging out until about 2 o'clock, so come on over to WHRO Public Media and join the fun. Another View will be right back after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. It was January 1st, 1863, when President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring the enslaved people in the United States free. But it was a full 2 years later, on June 19, 1865, before the enslaved living in Texas got the news. The first Juneteenth holiday was celebrated a year later, on June 19, 1866. Juneteenth became a federal holiday in 2021. So today is Juneteenth, and we are celebrating here on Another View with food, history, storytelling, and fun. Now, joining me in the studio is Amy Johnson of Amy's Wonderful World of Stories. Amy became a storyteller as a good way to get involved with children in the community, and she says, quote, "Stories seem to reflect the oneness of humanity across many cultures." Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hey, good to be here, Barbara.
I'm so excited, and I can't wait to hear your stories, and we're going to do that in just a moment. But before we do that, let's go out to the WHRO Public Media parking lot, where show producer Lisa Godley is having fun with the food trucks and the guests and the audience. And what's happening, Lisa?
Barbara, it smells so good out here. These folks are passing by me with these sriracha-coated wings, tenders. I'm like, oh my goodness. But before we get into the creator of those, and we talk to her, I want to introduce Dr. Derrick Lanois from Norfolk State University. He teaches African American history, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the story, the history behind Juneteenth.
Okay. And so the story of Juneteenth, there's this idea that the Emancipation Proclamation is the thing that the Juneteenth is based in, and so the Emancipation Proclamation is issued in September of 1862 and goes into effect January 1863. It was more of a threat than anything else because it made it squarely about slavery. And so as the story goes, it takes about 2.5 years for African Americans to hear about it in Texas, but unfortunately, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't have the power to free anybody. And so what Juneteenth really represents is that Texas was still in rebellion, although the Confederate had already surrendered. And so Texas was still in rebellion. And so the troops that were there when they made the announcement is because he came with about 1,800 troops with him to put that rebellion down that Texas was still holding on. And so when they make this announcement about Juneteenth and freedom is because it should have been when the Confederacy surrendered, when African Americans should have been freed in the rebelling states. And so when he goes around telling everyone, okay, you're free, it's because he got these troops and they're actually still fighting to get African Americans their freedom, and so then it becomes this holiday. The other thing about Juneteenth that I think is really important is that it is specific to Texas. Like there are other places that have their own Emancipation Day, but Juneteenth has the folklore and the story that's surrounding it that's really important about how African Americans fought for themselves to be free from slavery.
So let's talk about the current climate of the country, the current political climate, and then the rollback of DEI. How important are days like this?
So Juneteenth, Kwanzaa, even if we remember why Memorial Day comes into being, is because African Americans celebrating their fight during the Civil War. These holidays are crucial to this moment, especially when we think about African Americans learning about their own history. The more African Americans learn about their own history, the higher the graduation rates they have in high school, right? And Juneteenth is the story of celebration of the ending of chattel slavery, but not the ending of the fight for actual freedom and equality. And so I think by understanding what Juneteenth is representing, it helps us understand what the fight that we're in right now into continuing this work. That African American history not only is U.S. history, it's world history, and it's very important.
So Lisa, the general that he was talking about, Mr. Lanois, was speaking about is Union General Gordon Granger, correct? So he was the one who took the 2,000 troops into Texas to put down that rebellion, and they were the ones who told the enslaved that they were free?
Yes, General Granger.
Okay,
Yes.
General
Yes,
Granger. Okay.
Absolutely. All right, Barbara, I got one more quick thing I'm going to do, and then I'm
Sure.
going to toss it back to you. I'm going to bring in Shonda Ashley, and Shonda's going to talk to us a little bit about this delicious food that she has from Ruby Loves Southern Cooking and Catering. I see so many people with these wings. What's on? I mean, these tenders.
Tenders, yes. We have our 4-piece jumbo tender. You can get them plain. You can get them tossed in sauce, honey sriracha, sweet and sour, or buffalo. We also have party wings. We have fried whitings, fried pork chops, and we also have homemade delicious desserts, strawberries and cream cheese cake, as well as pineapple coconut cake, and our famous banana pudding.
Oh, my.
Y'all heard that, right? The
Oh,
banana
my.
pudding part.
And she also has the strawberry and cream, which is the color red, which is a significant color for Juneteenth. And I'm sure that Professor Lanois, I got his name wrong. Lanois, yes, will talk to us a little bit more about some of those traditions
Absolutely.
later on
Absolutely.
in the show.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Barbara, back to you.
Okay, so we are back in the studio. And Amy, I mean, first of all, how do you celebrate? What do you think about when you think about Juneteenth?
Barbara, I'm going to be very honest. It's only a few years that I've even known about Juneteenth. So I didn't think about Juneteenth. When I think about emancipation, I think about struggle.
Yeah.
When I think about emancipation, I see folks celebrating and happy and joyous, and then reality sets in and you realize, well, where am I supposed to go if I don't, I own what's on my back. Mm-hmm. So, it's
It's a mixed emotion.
Yes,
isn't it?
it's mixed. And today I would say, I think about, can we encourage people to do more for ourselves, to do more?
And, I want to ask you a similar question that Lisa asked the historian, and that is, as with this push against diversity, equity, and inclusion, how important is the holiday of Juneteenth and anything else that has to do with our remembering and spreading the word about Black history?
I think it's important if we as African Americans or, people in general take to heart that there's more that we can do and that there's more that needs to be done. It's important to know the history because for me, there are things that I think I would have done very differently if as a child I had grown up with the internet and could know all the things that I know about the struggle now. If I could know that how Black folks really tried to free themselves, it would be my life would be very different.
The resilience of the people.
The resilience and just that the effort that was put forth. When I saw the movie, The Four Ladies, come on, help me. The mathematicians.
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures,
Yes,
thank you. When I saw that movie, I was just, really? Really?
And, that's the thing that is so important because if we don't continue to pass down our history We can't depend on others. We have to do it ourselves.
You cannot.
And those of us who are into history and understand what's going on, we have to share it with our young folks so that they can continue to be resilient and that they can learn that they come from a proud people.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's something that Opal Lee emphasized. She didn't want just everybody to go out and have a picnic. When she pushed for Juneteenth, she wanted each one teach one, she said,
Yes, absolutely. So now, why did you become a storyteller? And because this was in you were retiring, if I understand
was retiring,
correctly.
And you can't just sit around and vegetate. So, but I had always been pretty involved in the community, and my local school could use some assistance. I retired and I thought, I remember what it was. This National Association of Black Storytellers was getting ready to bring their festival to Atlanta. And my chapter of Delta asked me to go and represent. Well, then I came upon, storytelling. You've had Dylan on, I'm sure. Yeah. You know Dylan well, and he came down to talk to us about it. I was like, oh, okay, I could do this. Carrie Johnson, my mother, always had me in the church programs, and she was always saying, say it with expression, Amy. Say it with expression. I can do this.
Well, let's let you say it with expression, Amy. Tell us a story.
I wonder where I should start, because I did stories specifically for this, and you've heard a lot of the information, but maybe it'll feel a little different.
Exactly.
So when I was growing up, my parents spent 10 p.m. to midnight every December 31st, New Year's Eve, at Calvary Baptist Church. They and their friends were there for watch night service. Their New Year's Eve parties didn't begin until after watch night service. It was many years later, many years after I had begun going to watch night service, that I learned what that meant. President Abraham Lincoln issued an order, the Emancipation Proclamation, that all enslaved people held in states that were part of the Confederate Rebellion would be free on January 1, 1863. Enslaved Negroes from plantations all around regularly gathered in their secret places, those meeting places where they talked about things Master didn't need to know about. When they got together in those secret places, they sang, they prayed, and they also shared information. One man who, unbeknownst to Master, had learned to read, might tell what he found out from seeing a newspaper when he drove Master into town. The cook or the maid, the serving girl, might share what she overheard Master and Mrs. talking about when she served their meal. Secret places, most often among the trees and under starry sky. This night, they were waiting for freedom, watching for midnight, December 31st, 1862, and emancipation. But not all the enslaved got the word of freedom. For January 1, 1863, in Texas, freedom did not come on Emancipation Day. Now, Texas was large and seemingly far away from everything and everyone. The Negroes' communication network generally worked quite well. However, after September 1862, when Lincoln first pronounced the Emancipation Proclamation, slaveholders in Texas became much more careful, much more circumspect about what they allowed the enslaved to see and to overhear. So it was almost 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation took effect before freedom came for the enslaved in Texas. Oh, they had an inkling. Their network had not completely failed them. But the larger issue was that they had no support if they were to stand up and try to claim their freedom. The Union troops had not come through Texas as they had through other southern states. So Negroes labored on, enslaved, toiling in a land where all slaves had been declared free. And then it happened. Freedom happened. Finally, emancipation happened. June 19th, 1865, General Gordon Granger marched into Galveston, Texas with 2,000 soldiers. Many of his troops were, that's right, many were black men. From a hotel balcony or from wherever, Granger reads his proclamation. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality between former masters and slaves. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness at military posts or elsewhere. Granger's men then spread out over the state to proclaim freedom. They posted copies of General Order No. 3 on trees and buildings wherever they could. They told the enslaved, wherever they found them, that everyone was now free. The soldiers found them working in the cotton fields and sugar cane. The newly freed Negroes threw down their pickaxes and hoes. They began to hug one another. They laughed, they cried, they danced around the fields. The soldiers found them in the plantation big houses, making beds and cleaning floors, cooking meals. They left whatever they were doing and went outside to celebrate and then down to their quarters. The soldiers found some enslaved tending Mrs. babies. They handed Mrs. her baby and went to see about their own children. They went to hold them tightly and to praise God that their children would not grow up enslaved. Their children would be able to live as they please, where they please, with whom they pleased, without fear of one day being arbitrarily separated from everything they held dear. After they had hugged and danced and shouted, they got busy and prepared a meal, using what little they had. And it was the best meal they had ever eaten, for it was their first meal as free men and women, boys and girls. Freedom made everything taste better. It made life more beautiful, more worth living, whether they stayed where they were or left. Often, if they left, it was to find loved ones who had been separated from them. It was their choice, and that was the essence of freedom. A beautiful thing. That's
Beautiful. You know, you can just feel the different emotions through your storytelling.
And that's the thing about storytelling, that it brings forth emotions, you know.
Absolutely, because we were sitting here looking at each other and smiling and almost tearful at one point, and you know, and just frustration at another point. I mean, all of the emotions just roll into that. We're going to have some more storytelling from you in just a little bit, but I do want to tell you, audience, there's so many things going on in our community to celebrate Juneteenth, and if you want to just listen to some beautiful music, you can just turn over to WHRO FM in honor of Juneteenth. They are highlighting the achievement of African Americans in classical music throughout the day. And you can tune in to hear music by outstanding artists from the past and present, including composers William Grant Still, Florence Price, Nathaniel Dett, and Valerie Coleman, conductors Paul Freeman, James DePriest, and Damon Gupton, and performers including Leon Bates, Kelly Hall Tompkins, Demare, and Anthony McGill, Laura Downs, the Sphinx Virtuoso, the Amani Winds, and so much more. So that is going on all day long at 90.1 WHRO FM. Sorry about that. Our sister station. And there are also many other things that are happening in the community, including the Black Film Festival. And we're going to go outside, talk with Lisa Godley, because I believe, Lisa, you have some folks here from the film festival.
I do. And I'm going to get to them in just a minute. But before I go to them, I'm going to talk to Dr. Lanois a little bit. He's going to share some unknown or rarely known Black history facts for me.
And so the fact I want to talk about today is my research area. And so Prince Hall affiliated Freemasonry is what I do and research on. What many of us do not know is that the first organized African-American institution in the United States, which actually predates the United States, is Prince Hall affiliated Freemasonry. Prince Hall and 14 other African-Americans during the Revolutionary War went to the enemy side, to the British camp, to be initiated, passed, and raised as Masons. And it becomes the first African-American institution that then predates the Free African Society, which is the Richard Allen, Absalom Jones, and others who walked out the church to form the Free African Society based in how they were being treated, which is a mutual aid society. And so, like I said, March 6, 1775 is when we get Prince Hall affiliated Freemasonry, then we get the Free African Society, and then we get the African Methodist Episcopal Church. In the 19th century, I think it's 1816, when we get the African American Methodist Episcopal Church. And so you get a secret society, a mutual aid society, and then you get the Black Church. And what we've been led to believe is that the Black Church is the first African American institution, and the very first one is a secret society.
Thank you so much. I'm going to step over here, Barbara, and talk to our folks from the Virginia Black Film Festival who have joined us. And I'm here with Rel Dowdell, yes. Rel Dowdell. Okay, Rel, you've been with the festival for 2 years.
Well, I'm director of film studies at Hampton University, so kind of Brian Thompson, the founder, we kind of connected early on in the process for me to help him out with Hampton's resources, and I think he's done a really visionary job because Black festivals, film festivals in particular, are very hard to get off the ground and gain momentum. I think that the second year, which is this year, it's grown now to a very admirable effort taking place at the American Theater as well as on Hampton's historic campus.
Now, you guys got a whole lot going on, which starts when?
Well, today I think officially they're doing like the beach party and other festivities, but the film events are really starting on Saturday. And I know on Sunday they're having an awards ceremony with Tim Reed and Clifton Powell. And I know I'm presenting on Saturday my part about Black film and reverence for those that I know well, like the great Tony Todd, who passed. I'll talk about Lou Gossett Jr., who passed, Chadwick Boseman. A lot of people that, in my opinion, who helped Black film progress, but are unsung. Cicely Tyson, people like that, Esther Roll. I'm gonna do a part of my presentation about those that are unsung who have progressed Black film from the days when you saw films that denigrated us to now watching stuff like Black Panther.
So in addition to workshops like the one you're going to be conducting, there are going to be a ton of films for people to watch.
That's exactly right. Now the thing about the film festival which is good is there'll be short films shown. Some films are very minute in length. They may be 30 seconds, they could be 10 seconds, or they may be 2 to 3 hours. But I think the beauty of film festivals is that it's not really the quantity of the time that the film is showing, but the quality of the message. And I think that if you show the gamut or the pantheon of those films of all lengths with people of color in them, you can cover a lot of ground in those 3-4 days, for sure. Celebration of Black cinema at its best.
Okay, and tell everybody where in Hampton they can go to participate or be a part of all this.
I'm glad you asked. So I know that the main crux of the screen is going to be on Hampton's campus on Saturday, right? And I know that the American Theater is also doing different symposiums on Saturday as well. So I would bet the most events would probably be on, the website is VirginiaBlackFilmFestival.com, but I would assume that it's going to probably be on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I think that as far as people's schedules goes, probably Saturday and Sunday you'll get the big audiences, the diverse audiences coming in, and you'll see great presenters also like myself and the great Fatima Cortez Todd.
I was about to ask you, who is this lovely lady you brought with you?
Let me tell you, Fatima Cortez Todd is a luminary in theater, in arts, and she also has a great reverence for just Black cinema and Black theater. But her husband, the late great Tony Todd, who was in Candyman and also great in theater, Fences, they really both made a really dynamic and unique power couple. And I think that now Tony has passed. His legacy lives on through the genius of Fatima.
Fatima, before we run out of time, I want to ask you really quickly. You have a film that's actually going to be shown during the film festival. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's No Loans Today. It was a documentary made 30 years ago. And it was made in South Central about a pawn shop that served as a marginal bank in a community where people couldn't deal with banks because they couldn't cash their checks because they didn't have an account. And they had to have a certain balance in the account. So the banks were not very friendly to folks in that community, and there was only really one bank that was existent. And he just was like a godfather in the community, and so we have him, and there are a number of people in the community, a mother who lost her son to gang violence, another woman who talked about losing her family for her crack addiction and how she would go on and off, and she'd get better and then she'd get not so good. And she was just very proud of that, the fact that she had come through all of that, but she did lose her kids, and that was a sad thing. And then I'm doing a workshop called Women of Color in the Arts Industry. And my position is that you have to control the narrative about who we are. And I look at the world as all people of color on this planet are the majority. So I come from a woman of color of the global majority, which means if the majority rules, imagine if we could. So the legacy that you want to have people leave in the arts, whether it's in writing or in film or in theater, is defining our own narrative on who we are as people of color, who we are as women of color. And it's a really big job, but it's important for us to do that just because we've been called minorities, and that is not who I am.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Barbara, I'm going to send it back to you. I have another young lady that I'm going to have introduce you to for during our next break, but I'm going to send things back to you for now. Black Film Festival going on in Hampton this weekend. Check it out.
Absolutely. That is the VirginiaBlackFilmFestival.com if you want to go find out more information. And if you're just joining us, we're celebrating Juneteenth here on Another View with storyteller Amy Johnson, historian Dr. Derrick Lanois, Rel Dowdell, and Fatima Cortez Todd with the Virginia Black Film Festival, Lisa Godley, who is outside with so many of our Another View listeners, and we've got food trucks here. We'll be here until 2 o'clock. So if you want to jump in your car, turn on 89.5 WHRV FM, continue to listen to the show, and come on out and enjoy the fun with us. So, Amy, I want to hear another story.
Oh, well, I will happily share another story with you. You know, I love sharing the stories because I've made it my mission to do stories that help us understand and lift us up.
Okay.
So this one, I think in particular, when we celebrate Juneteenth, how many of us remember a woman who President Joe Biden dubbed the grandmother of Juneteenth? I'm talking about a lady who once said, "I have persistence in my DNA. There's absolutely nothing that I start that I don't want to finish." While it's true that Texas was the first state to recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday, this lady would say, "It's not about Texas. It's not a black thing. It's freedom for everybody." Opal Flake was born October 7th, 1926 in Marshall, Texas, the child of Maddie and Otis Flake. She grew up with her parents and 2 younger brothers in a very loving home. Blacks in Texas celebrated Juneteenth long before most of us even heard of it. For Opal, Juneteenth held a lot of good memories of community, friends, and family coming together, celebrating freedom and the day when her ancestors in Texas first knew that they were free. Juneteenth also held a very difficult memory. The family had moved to Fort Worth, Texas. They were able to buy a house and moved in on June 18th, 1939. On June 19th, white neighbors who did not like the idea of the Flake family being in their neighborhood burned the Flakes' house to the ground while the police looked on. Her parents had sent the children to another home, and they grabbed what they could and rushed away from the house as they saw the white mob gathering. Living with that kind of memory makes one really understand the importance of freedom for everyone. Now, Opal had long wanted to be a teacher. However, by the time she graduated from high school, she had been bitten by the love bug. She put college on hold and became Mrs. Joe Rowland. Her mother was so disappointed that she refused to attend the wedding. Young love can be beautiful, but not always easy to sustain. In 4 years, Opal had 4 children, and the marriage was over. She returned to the Flake home where she was welcomed and lovingly supported in her efforts to attend college and see that dream completed. I'm talking about a woman who worked 2 jobs while attending school because she was going to make life better for herself and her children. And thankfully, her mom was willing to help by taking care of Opal's children during the week. Opal graduated from Wiley College in 1952 and began teaching. In 1967, she married Dale T. Lee, the principal of a school in Fort Worth. Like her, he had an activist spirit. In her teaching and her community work after retirement, Opal saw the difficulties that poverty and injustice created. She knew that it was important that people understand the history of Black people to put things in perspective, and that included the history of June 19th, 1865. But she didn't want it to be just a day of getting together to have a good time, drink strawberry punch, and eat fried chicken. Oh, I'm hoping that Juneteenth's history reminds us that we've got to take some responsibility for our people, for educating our people. I'm hoping that Juneteenth will not be just about festivals, but that it will be about uplifting each other. Whether it was teaching, or running a food bank, or running the annual Juneteenth celebration, Opal took every opportunity to teach her people their history. So it was. In 2016, at 89 years old, Opal decided she was going to walk to draw attention to the idea of making June 19th a national holiday. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing that can be changed until it's faced, she would say. So she walked several hundred miles, 2.5 miles a day in each city that she visited. When people heard that she would be in their cities, they came out to join her. She collected more than 1.5 million signatures on her petitions for a national Juneteenth holiday. If persistence was in her DNA, so was the dream of making people know the true history of Black people. On June 17, 2021, she stood in the Oval Office and watched as then-President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Act into law. I mean, I'm talking about a persistent lady, Mrs. Opal Lee, who never started anything that she didn't want to finish. So I enjoyed writing that story because I had to read so much to come up with all of it and to ferret out all the stuff that some people kind of maybe made up and put in it, and I just enjoyed it. But
it shows you the persistence and that diligence of one person who was determined, you know?
But the thing is, if one person can do it, how many more of us can do it? You know, so that's the important thing. And that's some of what storytelling has done for me in terms of just pushing me to go and research and learn more. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Hampton Storytelling Festival.
Oh, absolutely. We were going to talk about it, but go ahead.
You were going to talk about it?
Since you're bringing it up, go ahead and talk about it.
Thursday, July 17th through Sunday, July 20th at the Hampton History Museum. It's free to all. It's relevant and for all ages. You can look for more information at hamptonstorytelling.art, A-R-T. And there will be some special programs that might not be at the History Museum, like a veterans program or a veterans program at the VFW or a Paul Laurence Dunbar program at Fort Monroe. There'll be some extra things, but for the most part.
But throughout the city of Hampton,
yes,
these things will be going on. Now, are you presenting at the
I expect
at the
I will present a story with the local artists. They have some very well-known people there. I saw Mitch Cable's picture, and I've heard him often. Yeah,
David Novak, Sheila Arnold, who's been a guest on our show, along with Jay Johnson, who's also been a guest, Darcy Tucker, Mitch Cable, and Andy Orford, and Irwin and Irwin rather, and he actually is also going to be here on July 18th from 10 until noon, doing Sister True, an acclaimed storyteller's original tale of community building. So the whole idea is to bring the community together, and there are stories from children all the way up to adults, right?
Absolutely.
I even understand there might be some adult stories.
I think probably not in this festival, but they are planning Naughty Tales. That should be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to get one more story from you, but first I want to go out to Lisa, because I think she has a couple more folks for us to hear from.
I do. I am back with Dr. Lanois, and he's going to give us another unknown or rarely known Black History fact. Then I'm going to talk to two more of our food vendors.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
So I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and so I would be remiss if I didn't give some Memphis history. And so on April the 3rd, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. comes to Memphis, and we know that part of the story, but he comes there in support of the sanitation workers and to launch the Poor People campaign. And one of the things about this speech that he gives is that we get the prophetic utterance that he gets at the end where he talks about the mountaintop, and he's not going to get there with us, but that's not the content of the actual speech. And so I want to challenge our listeners to go out and listen to the speech where he then, and I think this is going to what the spirit of Juneteenth is all about, he then talks about African Americans should have the right to buy in places like Woolworth and Wonder Bread and Coca-Cola, but then he challenges us to go ahead and start our own. Challenge us to start our own businesses, to challenge us to use our GDP, because he talks about African Americans having, I think, the number 11th in the world at the time, GDP, and to use that money, come together and build our own institutions. And at this particular moment, as we talked about earlier with DEI and it being under attack, that we need to go into and build our own institutions. So I challenge us to do that, because at this point, African Americans' GDP is over $1 trillion. And so because of this, we have that power. And so please listen to what King was saying in that speech. And so find it in its entirety.
Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Lanois. I'm also going to introduce you at this time, Miss Chantel Davis, who runs Avocargo, and folks were lining up for those collard green egg rolls. I heard you ran out.
I did run out. Every year we run out here. We make as much as we can on our little trailer, but come out, come see us. We still have some great eats left. We have our plant-based fried oyster mushrooms, which are really, really popular. It tastes like fried chicken, y'all.
I have tried them. They're very good.
Yes. And then we have our jerk bowls and our grilled chicken bowls. We still have sweet potato egg rolls left. People were calling them sweet potato jacks yesterday. And you know I'm from the north, so I'm like, sweet potato jacks? What? So I'm happy to be an honorary Southern. Yeah.
Well, it sounds absolutely incredible. I'm telling you. Folks, we're waiting for Avocargo to pull up, and you always have great stuff, so I can't wait till I can get over to the truck.
Well, thank you so much for having us. And for all of you out there, make sure you follow us. We travel throughout the 7 cities. If you have any catering needs, any events, we're out here doing community events. Hit us up. My number is 757-717-3917. Bye.
Okay, thank you so much, Chantel. Also joining me, Barbara, is Greg Newton. Hey, ice cream man. I see you got a lot of folks buying. So I like this shirt here with the, what are they called? Those patriotic pops on.
Make sure I get you one. Make sure you better make sure you wear it.
All right, okay. Tell folks what they can get out here with you. And your truck is unusual. First, tell people a little bit about that truck.
But this is just a crazy story behind this. It was my son had SpongeBob bank up there. So I took it and put it on top of the truck. Who I need to be looking at? I'm good.
It doesn't matter. It's radio.
Okay. My bad. Oh, no, you done messed me up. So anyway, let me stay focused. My son had a bank and I put it on top. And after that, I just kept going.
So you have all kinds of superheroes on top of your truck, your ice cream truck. I mean, how many, do you have any idea how many are up there?
45 or 50.
I guess you can't go very fast down the highway with that, right?
Yeah, I don't try to do interstate. Haven't seen a kid on the interstate yet trying to catch up with me, so I stay in the neighborhoods.
All right, but you see Greg on Facebook all the time. He's under Hey Ice Cream Man
and Gregory Newton.
And Gregory Newton. So, you know, if you got a good taste for some good ice cream, come on out here. We have Ruby Loves Southern Cooking and Catering. We have Avocargo. We have Lobster King. We're going to hear from them during the next break, Barbara. And our little Tiani, who has some incredible cakes and lemonade out here. We'll talk to them during the next break. But for now, it's back to you.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. And speaking of, Dr. Lanois was talking about Black businesses. There is a Juneteenth vendor fair happening until 6 o'clock this afternoon at the Kroc Center in Norfolk. And these are all Black-owned businesses from Hampton Roads. You should go on out and support them. So just another thing that is happening. Let's get to another story because Lisa needs another hit, and I want to make sure we get all this in. So... So, Amy, tell us one more story.
Oh, my pleasure. You know, the whole history thing. In Africa, we didn't write down a whole lot. The griot and the jolly, and certainly that's what they were called in West Africa. They carried the history in their head and their heart, and they told the stories. And anyway, let's tell this story from history because this is the story of a woman who was part of the civil rights movement, who I think does not get nearly enough attention. Okay. But so here we go. My name is Ella Josephine Baker. I was born in Norfolk, Virginia in December 1903, though I was raised in North Carolina. I was very active in the civil rights movement of the 1930s through the 1980s. My activism began early with the Young Negroes Cooperative League, which sought to develop Black economic power, Black business. That's something we need to talk about, but it's not the topic for right this moment. Over the years, I served the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Southern Christian Leadership Council, SCLC, and SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, among others. I worked alongside of the most famous civil rights leaders of the 20th century. Thurgood Marshall, W.B. Du Bois, Bayard Rustin, A. Philip Randolph, Dr. Martin Luther King, to name a few. I mentored emerging activists, Julian Bond, Stokely Carmichael, James Farmer, Rosa Parks, and John Lewis. Now, I wasn't an out front person. I was the behind-the-scenes organizer who got things done and held things together. I was able to bring multiple civil rights organizations together to shape some of our greatest events. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. When 3 Black young men, James Earl Chaney, who was Black, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, who were white, were killed one bleak night in June 1964 by members of the Mississippi White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, the country was outraged by their deaths. All were part of the Students' Freedom Summer Campaign, organized by SNCC. A young John Lewis, Good Trouble, was head of SNCC at the time. When these 3 young men were killed, an all-out search was launched for their bodies. No less than 150 FBI agents, plus Navy divers and hundreds of sailors were pulled into Neshoba County, Mississippi, as part of the effort. In the course of searching the swamps, the bodies of 8 black men and boys were found. I said, and the quote was picked up by the newspapers, until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. Bernice Johnson Reagan, founder of Sweet Honey in the Rock, and one wonderful musical talent that gave so much to the movement. She was one of my SNCC mentees. She heard my words, and she created the song, Ella's Song. You can still find it, the complete song, on YouTube. But during my tenure with these organizations that I mentioned, there were certain principles I believed in. I believed fervently that the movement had to come from the people, that people have strength that most of them, or most of us, do not recognize, and we needed a roots movement. Finally, I believed in the young people. When some of them organized SNCC, I was asked to come and help them to get organized. Those young people would discuss and debate for hours and days on end until finally they understood and came together on their mission, their agenda. I was happy to listen and let them talk it out. They were smart and had such potential. From time to time, I would show them the connection between their thinking and that of the more established organizations to help them see the other group's point of view. For you see, these young people had no use for the civil rights paradigms of the past. Does that sound a little bit familiar? They wanted freedom and equality, and they wanted it now. I could talk to them because I had gained their trust. It was the young people who organized the sit-ins and freedom rides. One of my biggest challenges was getting the SCLC and NAACP to accept the young folks' ideas. In closing, I want to say to you that freedom is not free, nor freely given. It wasn't in 1865 or in 1964, and clearly it isn't now. It requires courage, clarity of thought around what you believe and what you want, commitment and faith. And I believe in y'all, just like I believed in those young folks.
And from right here in Norfolk, Virginia.
Right.
How about that? How about that?
Right.
We got about 5 minutes left in the show. Very quickly, we're going to go out to Lisa and chat with you one more time, Lisa.
Okay, Dr. Lanois, you got about a minute. Tell me a little bit more because I got 2 more people I got to talk to.
Okay, and so we're going to end on looking at African-American fraternities and sororities because they're so important. And so the very first African-American fraternal organization that's a Greek letter fraternity organization that's still in existence today is Sigma Pi Phi, and its nickname is the Boule. And we believe that Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is the very first one. And what's interesting about them is W.B. Du Bois was a member, and in the 1940s he gives a speech where he rethinks the talented 10th and comes up with what he calls the guiding 100th and says that the talented 10th was a failure and that we need to move towards this guiding 100th. And I think about it like what he would say is like the King Arthur and the Round Table, where we bring in all these African-American institutions and people. Instead of looking at individuals coming back, that we bring together all of these institutions and people to help bring the entire community up.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your sharing your knowledge with our Another View audience. Also joining me right now, Barbara, is little Tiani. Tiani, how old are you?
5.
You're 5 years old. You're our youngest vendor out here. So tell folks what you're selling here.
Lemonade and cakes.
You're selling lemonade and cakes. What kind of cakes do you have?
Chocolate, lemon, lemon, and strawberry.
Well, they all look delicious, and I know from last year, people tell me they are delicious. Thank you so much for coming out here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. And also, I have someone with the Lobster King who is joining me. And Avery with the Lobster King. And I'm telling you, Barbara, people are really talking about these incredible lobster rolls, and it looks so good. And
it sounds wonderful. Oh my goodness.
Avery, tell us a little bit about what you got here, because folks are bringing it to me and it looks absolutely incredible.
Awesome. So we have fresh Maine lobster, okay? All of our lobster is imported from Maine, and we do it warm with butter or chilled with mayo. So fresh Maine lobster. We also have crabby chips, where you can get crab on a Cape Cod chip with the cheese sauce, and it comes with fresh crab. And of course, we use nothing but Maryland blue crab, straight from the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh my!
A couple of people showed it to me. It looks so good. I can't wait to try it.
Yeah, it's a top seller, and some people even get a little spicy and throw a little bit of lobster on top of it. So awesome dish.
How can people keep up with you if they want to find out where you're next and where you might be stationed?
Yeah, so the best way to find us is either our social media, Lobster Kings, that's LOBSTAH _ KINGS, or on Facebook, you can get us just Lobster Kings, but make sure you put the AH at the end instead of the ER. But we post all of our schedules and where we're going to be at on our social media.
Thank you so much for being here for our Juneteenth celebration. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Lisa, before you go, did you get a chance to talk to some of our audience members who have come up? Did they tell you why they came, and are they having a good time?
They just want to be a part of the celebration, Barbara. I mean, folks are having such a good time. I'm telling you, this food out here looks incredible, and folks are trying a little bit of everything, and it's just a wonderful time of information, of learning, of celebration, of eating good food. So they actually even have a presentation out here with the Emancipation Proclamation for people to read. So it's incredible. Okay. Why are you out here, ma'am? What made you decide to come today?
I needed a joyful and reinvigorating event to honor this day of freedom and the work that's yet to come.
Thank you so much. What's your name?
Cheney.
Thank you so much for sharing. One example, Barbara.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, everybody. I just want to say to our food trucks, Avo Cargo, Lobster Kings, Hey Ice Cream Man, Tioni's Lemonade and Cakes, and Ruby Loves Catering. Thank you so much for making our celebration such a success. Thank you to our audience that came out and joined us this afternoon. We really appreciate that opportunity. And, Juneteenth is a day when we celebrate emancipation, liberation, freedom, and togetherness. It's a time when we put aside our differences and celebrate a time when our country took a turn towards the better for a change. How about that? Now, you can listen to this show again or share it with a friend by visiting whro.org/anotherview, or you can find us on Spotify or wherever you go for your podcast listening pleasure. And next week on Another View, a very special 90-minute Another View history lesson on Black loyalists from Virginia Beach and their connection to Canada. It's a fascinating show that you will not want to miss. And we're going to be on for an hour and a half. That's how incredible this story is. Our theme music is an original composition. It was created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Go out and celebrate today, everyone. Take advantage of all of the opportunities that are happening. And I also want to say before I go, happy anniversary, Mr. Maxie Lee. We are celebrating 17 years this Saturday. Yay! Let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.